And we're back once again, only on it is Last Call. Last Call of the Alcohol, only on the Last Call YouTube Rumble channel. Now, usually we talk pro wrestling because I have Kevin Apollo here, but as he said, Chris, I gotta go off. He's been trying to be polite and behave. As I tell him, that's not you, Kev. You need to go full on Rampage. So we're going Rampage here. We got Superman 2025, and Kevin Apollo is here to join us. And Kevin, I'm guessing you and I've seen it. You've heard about it. Your thoughts, because I know you're just. I could see you just going. Ugh. You want to say a lot, but you're trying not to get people to cancel you.
Yeah, listen, I'm trying to be fair, right? Because again, I didn't see it, but from what I understand, every single leak that hit was 100% true. The and again, I just look at the costume. Well, listen, I'll start there, right? Um, I don't come at this from like just crazy. It's got to be photo accurate person. I grew up in the '90s, dude. Comic book movies in the '90s were all awful. Even the good ones, right? Even the good ones, they were all awful. But usually, you knew how bad it was going to be going off of the costume. So, jump forward to the Arrowverse, and I'll give the CW this: the majority of the Arrowverse costumes were phenomenal, even without the money, right? Like Manu Bennett's Deathstroke costume. Cool. The Flash costume, especially once they figure out the cowl, cool. Hawkman, Hawkgirl, cool. Supergirl's phenomenal. The all of the Superman costumes that they had for Tyler Hoechlin were phenomenal, especially the Superman and Lois one. Actually, honestly, the throwback to Action Comics one. I think that was in a pilot, right? He's got that was incredible. The so now I'm looking at we're looking at the trailers for this movie, and the new 52 costume, which was a cool costume, especially if you go for the Jim Lee version of it. It's an armor costume. I remember going to Comic Con the year that new 52 dropped, right? So we got the we got the teaser image for Superman in June, and the new 52s dropped in September. Comic Con was in October. And by the time we got to Comic Con, I saw four people in photorealistic new 52 Armor Superman costumes. So now you leap forward 10 years, and with over $200 million for a budget, we get something that looks like it's my first cosplay attempt. What the F is that? What is that? A $200 million movie, and you can't give me a good Superman? Was it like you can say what you want about the Man of Steel costume? Yes, I think the color palette should have been a little different, but at the end of the day, like it was a mesh costume that contoured Henry Cavill's natural physique. It wasn't padded, like the Marvel costumes. It actually showed off the dude's body. It was an awesome looking costume. The even with the color grade changes that they made for when they made it like more of a royal blue in Shazam and at the end of Black Adam, awesome. And then we jump to this crap. Like what he looks like he just looks like he's just a dumpy dude in playing cosplay. And that's not a knock on Cornsworth, because Cornsworth did a lot of work. The guy has a great body. He looked good. Unfortunately, you can't see it in this movie. He does not look like a superhero. He just looks like the average Joe. And then there's Crypto. Crypto is a very specific kind of dog. He's not a little terrier. And then from everything I've heard, Crypto acts obnoxious the entire time. Like the whole
I was praying for that dog to kill. I'm like, okay, if Crypto dies, I will cheer. And that's me because in the comic book, you like Crypto. He is the loyal dog who
yeah.
understands when to jump in, when not to. This dog was pissing me off. Like, God damn it. It's like my sister's little, Yorkie that just you want to just slap him because it won't shut up and it keeps peeing in the house.
Too. And the worst part is they don't even give him his dog because the dog belongs to Kara. What the hell is that? Why can't Kal-El have his dog? And then the story of Crypto, like when you break it down, like what the Silver Age story of Crypto, with him getting off of the planet, and the dog is so determined to find his owner that he travels space and then is so elated to find him. It's like that in itself is kind of a touching story. So it's like if we live in a world where it's like I got the breakdown of the three metahumans have existed for 300 years. Like, dude, why are you cheaping out on a cool introduction? Like I think I said it on Marv's show on Toonie Talk Toonie Town TV. If anything, you should have given us some kind of a Schneider-esque opening. Like the opening, The Watchmen is perfect. It was a ton of exposition. It gave you all the context you needed. It looks super cool. I understand you don't have all the superhero roles cast, so do things just to hide the faces. But use everybody that you have casted thus far to weave the tapestry that dumps us into the movie instead of a weird little but lazy exposition dump. Um, you find it's cool. I don't ever listen. I'm one of those people. I don't need to see the Waynes get shot. I don't need to see Uncle Ben get shot. I don't ever need to see the spider bite, and I don't need to see Krypton explode. That's just where I'm at with it. There are just certain superhero origins I never need to see again. Um, so it's like let me just get kind of to the story. But you're cutting out essential parts. Like I heard, like Jimmy Olsen's like a sex god. It's like what is going on? And the common feedback I've heard is there's a lot of cursing. Superman is the quintessential PG-13 PG-13 superhero story. You need kids for this. If anything, that was my only kind of complaint about Man of Steel was that you didn't give a lot for the kids to kind of chew on. But I also understand why they went the direction they went for it, right? Because Bryan Singer totally dropped the ball with Superman Returns. On top of making a sequel to a movie that nobody saw, he turned Superman into a beta stalker. And listen, there were some fantastic scenes, right? Like the saving the plane in the beginning, the montage where he's back in Metropolis and the guys go to rob the bank and he gets shot with the Gatling gun, the actual rescuing of Metropolis and throwing the kryptonite city into the sun, all very cool. But the actual characterization of Superman was piss poor. So WB smartly realized you should need to go a little more balls to the walls, give a little more action. It's just that David S. Goyer does not understand Superman. I know people like to hammer Zack Snyder with it, but Zack Snyder was not the man who directed the movie. I mean, was not the man who wrote the movie. He directed it. David S. Goyer is the one who wrote a story that didn't quite understand why Superman works. But at the end of the day, Man of Steel is damn near a masterpiece. I personally think that if they had gone with the ending where Zod didn't die, they would have had they probably would have had an $800 million movie. The
Well, let me jump in first on this. Is Superman? And I was when I walked out of the theater, I was thinking about this because people get upset with, Snyder for killing off Zod. I had no problem with that because I understand this is in the comics where, all of a sudden there is a being that can send Zod to the Phantom Zone when it's like, okay, we haven't written that part yet. I mean, and I get this very, we're trying to show like Superman deals with villains who you can't just throw in jail. This isn't Batman where a Joker you can throw in jail because he is a human. This is a guy a super being that you can't just throw in Arkham and go, okay, lock the key, he'll break out in 2 seconds. So how much is it possible first when you look at what we grew up on, the animated series with Tim Daly as Superman and then Justice League, the animated series, and we got spoiled with how Superman was portrayed, Lex Luthor was portrayed, even the Justice League, because it was damn near perfect as you can get for a modern superhero, but still is traditional to the comics.
I would say yes and no. I mean, the great thing about it, and listen, I think part of the problem, before I go off on a tangent, is that we lost Dwayne McDuffie entirely too soon. Dwayne McDuffie, I think more so than Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, understood how the characters worked, both in comics and in animation, and he would have been able to bring the best of all that to film. Unfortunately, we lost him. So you lost the guy who had enough cred with Hollywood, and understood the books, where he could have walked in and kind of strong armed a little bit. Whereas, during the Jeff Johns era, he was a little too hard and he alienated a lot of people. So they allowed the Kryborg situation to pull him off of to put him on the inactive list and send him down to TV. But I think the characterization on the animated series was it was a simplified back to basics version of the character, a character that can and frankly should exist on film. It's not that hard. People overcomplicate superheroes, especially Superman. Superman is super powerful, but you can't really hurt him. But the way to hurt Superman is through the people that he cares about. Even the bad 3 and 4, right? Like I love them both, but they're terrible. The early writers understood that, right? Superman 4. I always laugh. My favorite part is when Nuclear Man and him and fighting in Metropolis, and Nuclear Man goes, "Bring me the girl, or I will hurt people." And then Christopher Reeves, in the most earnest way possible, goes, "No, the people." Because Superman cares about people. So, like, if you're gonna to stress the Superman character, one, it's not about brawn; it's about his brains. Two, it's about his ability to have to save the people he loves or people that he cares about. So that's how you construct a Superman story and give him an appropriate amount of peril. It's not have him have the crap kicked out of him for 2 freaking hours. No one wants to see that. Listen, I put it in the same boat as why the Batman didn't do well. I think the Batman is incredibly boring, and I think it's way overhyped. People are tired of seeing day one Batman, or I'm an old broken down Batman. Same thing with Superman. These heroes, Batman and Superman especially, are Americana. They have been on TV and film for almost as long as they have existed. So we're approaching 100 years of these characters existing, right? What do we got? Another 6 or 7 years, right? And these guys are 100 years old. They can't be they can't be held down by copyrights anymore, like Mickey Mouse and Popeye. The You have to start telling stories about these guys being in their prime. We have not gotten a prime Superman movie yet. We have not gotten a Batman in his prime movie yet. And that's what people want to see. People want to see Superman. Like, I get it. You wanted to use a bastardized version of Ultraman. Why wasn't Ultraman really Bizarro? Well, why didn't the clone start to break down? He got white flaky skin, and now Superman is face fighting himself, but a version of himself who thinks that he's doing the right thing, but it's really the wrong thing, which would have been a fascinating dilemma, considering how this dumb plot strung itself together. Because I don't know in what world, like everything about Superman. Superman represents being Superman is the quintessential adult in the room, right? He's stoic, he's stoic, he's steadfast, he's resolute. But he's also a man. So what grown ass man with a job and who's proficient at what he does is going to care what someone's saying about him on social media? Instead, we made this. We have a Superman who speaks in a high pitched voice, is overly emotional, is worried about his social media queue, and is getting his ass kicked the entire time. I know why this movie. I know why this movie lost to Man of Steel, and make no bones about it. This movie did not make nearly as much money as Man of Steel. The media is playing funny. They're not counting. They're not counting the Thursday totals, so that Superman can pull ahead, and it barely pulled ahead, right? Man of Steel by itself was like 217. If you and this movie,
And
what?
yeah, just to quickly jump in, Man of Steel, they didn't do all the international markets right away. It was They got
Yep.
half of them, and then like the other half, which was UK, France, China.
Yep.
That was the next week. So it's
Yep. So this movie is not doing well overseas. They just don't seem to care about it. This movie is very domestic dominated, and we've got to be honest, it was kind of a tepid opening anyway. The so like the Superman should have been a big event film. I think it's also moronic that they did not put this movie out on the 4th of July. This should have been a big 4th of July event movie. Instead they kind of chose to pussyfoot it around by putting it in the middle of the month, and it's just it just I don't know. To me, I don't really think James Gunn had a lot of confidence in this movie, and he getting a lot of bravado. Listen, let's be honest too. The Variety debacle did not help things. The Variety tried to make this a right versus left thing, and from what it looks like, a lot of the right chose to stay home. And maybe they'll watch it, and some people will choose to watch it maybe on when it's streaming or when it gets released on home video. Well, we'll see. But Variety hurt this movie. Now, do I think that James Gunn used his brother as a surrogate? Absolutely. We all know where James Gunn lies. He's trying to play nice, nice with you not being political because he's at least smart enough to realize that the identity politics does not play out well when a movie needs to make money. And David Zaslav, who he's not a conservative, he is more of a moderate Democrat, old school moderate Democrat, understands that this identity politics idiocy doesn't is a guaranteed to lose your money too. But I think the damage was done. You turned off a lot of people. That nonsensical Superman's an immigrant narrative that started in the comic books, because DC proper is filled with a bunch of woke, soft, everything needs to be gay, sissy boys, up to and including Tom King's woke ass, who, well, I was in the military. Just, yeah, well, bro, I get it. I thank you for your service. You're still a fucking bitch at the end of the day. The they have done everything in their power to try to ruin this character. They destroyed the Jonathan Kent character. People loved the new Superboy. It was like one of the best gifts Dan Jurgens had given the comic books, right? Like it's part of the problem with Superman is that people were afraid to move the character forward. It's the in our lifetime, like, these younger kids have no idea that Superman and Lois Lane were not together. For the better part of let's see,
well,
for the
yeah,
better part of 4 years. They get married and then it moves forward. What was the next logical conclusion? Let Superman be a father. People loved that Jurgens run. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. We got old school Superman back, and now he's a dad. So now the storytelling is different, and for readers who have aged with the character, it kind of gives you the ability to kind of self-identify with some of the problems too. So it was a great take. Instead, what happens? Crazy, the crazy, we need to hypersexualize everything, because kids aren't allowed to enjoy things. We age up Jonathan, and then all of a sudden you make him gay, and you wonder why you can't sell a fucking book.
I'll even forget about that part. Here's like when Lex is yelling at Superman, going, "I am human, and you are a filthy alien." I mean, you go back to
Mhm.
Man of Steel, and there's the great line that Henry Cavill's Superman has. I grew up in Kansas, General. I'm about as
Yep.
American as it gets. I mean, that's what it felt like. This movie, when watching, it's like they were afraid to have Superman go truth, justice, and the American way. Like it's almost
Mhm.
like a dirty word in Hollywood.
It is.
So it's
It is. The concept of the American way is a dirty word in Hollywood. It's been a dirty word. Well, listen, it started with Brian Singer. He was a lot more clever, a lot more coy when he did it. But when Frank Langella goes, truth, justice, and all that, it was their way of avoiding saying the American way, because we get it. The institutionalized left does not like the American ideals. It does not like the concept of America. It hates everything Americans stand for, and they don't understand why actual refugees and legal immigrants are willing to die to get here, and love it here. It is because this is the actual greatest country on the face of the fucking planet. There are no ifs ands bones about it. I love that you mentioned that scene in Man of Steel, because guess what? Superman did the most American thing an American would ever do. A satellite was following him, and he shot it out of the air. And reveled in destroying government property. Yeah, that's pretty effing American. What irritates me the most is finding out that we could have gotten a Michael Bay movie, a Michael Bay Superman movie. Do you know what that would have been?
Oh, we're gonna
Uh,
ahead of
uh,
ourselves. So first, let's go to this. So Superman soars to 122 million, third biggest box office opening weekend of 2025. Yeah, 2025 hasn't been a good year for movies. So let's
no,
start with
2020
that.
has not been. We were celebrating $120 million openings. What, 15 years ago? It's like, like, come on, guys. Like, never mind. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So here's what worries me if you're a DC.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly it's around 200, 225 million. I don't buy that for a second. I've heard
No, there's
the
no way.
Ohio tax credit said it was about 360 million. So let's split the baby in the middle. Let's call it 275, 280. Probably another 150 to 200 million in the marketing, which they have marketed the crap out of this movie.
Yep.
And then you hear James Gunn goes, "Oh yeah, well if it doesn't make 700 million, it's not a failure." I mean, how worried should Warner Brothers be right now? That's like, oh crap, this thing doesn't. This is not going to make $500 million after 2 weeks. We might be in trouble here, folks. We might have to put a pause in this whole DCU expansion because yeah, the boat's starting to leak already.
Well, so there's two issues here, right? One, these guys have to get back to a place where they're responsible, and these movies have to be stopped being so goddamn expensive, and they need to temper their expectations. There's no reason that the movie should be making $500 million in 2 weeks, right? Remember, we used to movies used to have legs. Like right, and I'm talking like just going back to 2013. Man of Steel didn't hit the 500 million mark until what, like weeks later? Like, and it was just, what I think it finished at like a little over six, like maybe 650 or something like that. But like, it was a celebration. Like now, if a movie's a bomb if it can't make a crap ton of money in 2 weeks, that tells me that we're spending irresponsibly, and that you aren't asking for people's money, you're demanding it, you're expecting it. So it's time for these studios to start being responsible, especially a studio like Warner Brothers, who doesn't have two nickels to rub together. Now, in regards, let me turn off the air conditioner, because all right,
So while you're
you
doing
got it.
that, while you're doing that, I'll pontificate here. So you have this, and I'm trying to figure out how they spent 220 plus million on this freaking movie because should have been on the actors. You got a lot of these guys under, you didn't have big stars. It wasn't like you had back even in Man of Steel. You had Russell Crowe, you had Lawrence Fishburne, you had Henry Cavill who was coming into his own. You had yeah, a
Yeah,
ton of
well,
people who were
yeah,
big
Amy
names.
Adams and Michael Shannon was still, like, there was a lot of heavy hitter names in that movie.
The biggest heavy hitter you can think of here is like, well, Nicholas Holt. I mean, and look, I think he did a good job as Lex Luthor. I had some issues with it, but still, overall, good job. Just this should have been like, well, this movie should have spent more of 150 million. And you look and go, how the f did it spend all that goddamn money? It's
Dude, like, listen, I'll say, like, so why was there a kaiju? Because you wanted a kaiju. I said, well, if you're gonna do a kaiju, why wasn't it Titano? Why aren't you using things that are germane to the DC universe? Like, if you're gonna spend this kind of money, then the movie should have been packed with a bunch of eye candy that would have prompted a hardcore DC fan to have to go to see it more than once to catch everything they missed. The like, and I'm curious to see how this movie's gonna do with normies, because one of the ways I graded Man of Steel was I looked at people who would normally who normies who bought into the belief that Superman was kind of a Boy Scout and was vanilla. And they all kind of like, oh no, Man of Steel was badass. Like, it got me excited about Superman. People walked out of that movie very excited. People forget that people were super into like there's a reason that the Batman versus Superman trailer did extremely well. You know, especially after seeing Ben Affleck be super jacked, people really liked Henry Cavill's Superman. There was a lot of enthusiasm for what he was going to do next. You know, fine, we can talk about the execution. You know, we can talk about how they really should have done Superman. They should have really done a Superman sequel and a Batman movie first, but you know, we can't go back and change that. The like, but it's time to talk about getting these movies under control. I want to address your actual um point about the characterization. You know, the Superman is not soft. Again, Superman is stoic. Listen, I don't know. I'm this picture here, like David Cornswell, he looks like Superboy, not like Superman. And I know the excuse, well, he's only 3 years into his career. Yeah, but like, I don't know. When I watched Superman the movie, Christopher Reeves looked pretty freaking big. And by the time you get to Superman 2, what, he's another what, another 30 pounds heavier? You know, it's like all that time hanging out with Franco Colombo and David Prowse. Like it's like Superman is larger than life. There's nothing, and again, I like David Cornsweet, but there's nothing about David Cornsweet that says larger than life. He just looks like a guy, and that's probably and listen, even the characterization of the Kents. My problem with James Gunn is James Gunn can't not include himself in his stories. James Gunn grows up on a poor Missouri farm, so the Kansas farmers who have their own dialect are now
Inbred.
Missouri. Yeah, yeah, they're now Missouri hillbillies, and they live in a double wide. We all know what the Kent farm looks like. We all know that there's a giant red barn. We all know that we all know that they have acres of land. It's like so. It's like why crypto? Oh well, my family we got a little terrier, and he was just so hard to raise, and so much energy and so much love, and I was like, well, I understand. But now, what if this dog had superpowers? James, it's not your job. Your job was to write a Superman story. The not James Gunn's Superman story. The And I personally think that's why this movie is going to suffer a little bit. I'm sure. Listen, there's a lot of and I was actually, there's a friend of mine who called before we started. If I had enough time, I would have gotten his opinion on it. But I know there's just a lot of James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy simps out there, and I think the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are way overpraised. The first one was good, or good adjacent. The second one is fucking terrible. I'm sorry if you hate the Suicide Squad movie, but like the second Guardians of the Galaxy, then you're just a jock rider. Your opinion can't be taken seriously because it's essentially the same kind of movie. The and the third one, I still haven't finished the third one. It's better than the second one so far, but it's also James Gunn can't get out of his own way. To me. Other than he told an excellent story with Rocket, the rest of the movie is kind of like, where are we going with this? The so I was like, I'd never really had any high hopes for this. For the future, what does this mean for DC? Fine. Warner Brothers, and we can see now the mainstream media is working overtime to tell us that this was a hit. This wasn't a hit. It was a tap. It was a tap. So what I guess kind of similar to Man of Steel. It says that it's going to have people who really like it. It's going to have people who don't like it, but it put Superman back in the cultural zeitgeist in terms of being in terms of being a viable movie property, right? So
Does
it's
it
better
though? I
than
mean, because it's you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy. This is what it feels like. It's Guardians of the Galaxy with Superman. He's not
Mhm.
even the star of this movie. You could argue it's the Justice Gang, it's Lex Luthor, it's Lois Lane,
And can we talk
it's
about that? By the way, the Justice Gang, Justice and Gang are not. they're contradictory ideas. Why did you name them the Justice Gang? Well, because you didn't want to say Justice League. Well, it's like it's just stupid. But sorry, because it's just that really irritates me. Really irritates me.
Well, they act like
Yeah,
a gang. I mean, you know, you're supposed to have like Hawk Girl, who is a cop who came here. Doesn't act like a cop. She acts like basically an assassin who's on a, you know, on a bad mood. You have Guy Gardner, who nobody wanted. Nobody wanted the Guy Gardner character in the movie, but not James Gunn. But James Gunn went, well, it's fun. He's an a-hole. We're gonna put him in. Mr. Terrific is probably the only good character in that movie, and even then, he's not really a guy you consider a leader of, you know, the Justice League. And then you get Metamorpho. It's almost like he picked the most weird characters. When yeah, I'm going to go with this, and I'm
yeah.
surprised he didn't try to shove Booster Gold in there because he just loves his weird sea
Well,
level heroes.
James Gunn needed to find a way to do a James Gunn, right? Because I'm like, okay, fine. You wanted to do clearly he likes the Detroit era of the Justice League, right? So then fine. Why wasn't Martian Manhunter in this movie? Fine, you pick Guy Gardner, but you got there are certain things about Guy Gardner that people forget. Guy Gardner, I think I talked about him to Town, but Guy Gardner was supposed to be the one who got the ring. Guy Gardner was very similar to Hal. Guy Gardner got brain damage, was one of the coma when he woke up, was this version of Guy. So like there's a reason why Guy is an ass. And then when Guy kind of gets a little bit better, he's more reasonable. He's just more tough. If you go with the New 52 origin, he's a hot dog cop, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what the Green Lanterns are. They're cops. The they're space cops. So it's like you have him just very, very flippantly doing things, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I heard about the Hawk Girl essentially murdering the Russian dignitary. As again, like I said, depending on which Hawk Girl she is, because I'm sure they didn't say, but whether it's Shiara or Kendra, the but like she's a cop. She's a police officer. She's not running around committing acts of unwanted murder. Even Carter, who is a bit of a hard ass, still has a very specific moral code. He's not like he's got a warrior's code, so he's not going to just randomly murder someone, especially if they don't have superpowers. It just there's a fundamental misunderstanding. And the Metamorpho has nothing to do with anything. If any, why didn't we save Metamorpho for the side plot of a Batman movie? Like you mean to tell me you couldn't find a reason to do a Simon Stagg story, and inject Metamorpho into that in the background? Why was he the Superman? It just doesn't make sense. Other than I need some weird ass characters that I can play with, and that's what he did. And like I said, there's so many people in this movie that I'm sure Superman can't help but almost serve as a background character, in his story.
Well, just when we're
Uh,
thought this was done, yes, we're getting Supergirl next. This is I have no hopes for DCU because you just look at Supergirl. And I know on Twitterverse, on Twitter, as you call it, a land of blue-haired fat people and emo boys, they can't stand Gal Gadot. But at
yeah,
least when Zack Snyder introduced Wonder Woman, she was badass. She had, you know, heart. She was somebody you looked and went, a mature, you know, leader, a fighter, a warrior. It's like, okay, here the introduction was Wonder Woman's badass.
that's it. Well, listen, I'm not. I get it. I at first like yes, when she was cast, I was like, well, she's a little small. Like I always imagined Wonder Woman should have been more like Lucy Lawless era Xena like kind of a build. Because that was pre-muscle mommy. But Gal Gadot, there's things you can't replace. Like Gal Gadot's just objectively beautiful. She's very tall. She carries herself rather elegantly. She's almost there's almost a regal air about her. She was a fantastic representative. This Supergirl though was one of the things that stripped away my hope of for DC was that when I took a look at who he put together in his brain trust of creators, I was like, oh, Jeff Johns is in it here. That's fascinating. But Tom King was, and Tom King is his number two. Tom King is an asshole. He is a woke soy twat who tries to hide that he justifies as being a woke soy twat because he served. I'm like, no, you're still a woke soy twat. He every book he gets, it like the sales spike and then immediately plummet because all he does is commit unwanted acts of character assassination. The guy is a shit writer. He's just a shit writer with shit takes. He destroyed Kara when he got her hands on him. He destroyed Batman. He turned Batman into a whiny cuckold. He turned Catwoman an irredeemable whore. Destroyed, destroyed the Bane character. Done damage to the Joker. He's a shit ass writer. Who and again, modern Hollywood, modern DC, modern Marvel Comics proper. These people are all allowed to fail up. The Supergirl at the end of this movie is not Supergirl. I have a theory as to why she is the way she is. But this character is not Supergirl. This is Tom King's bastardized shit version of Supergirl.
I mean, she
Because
calls basically Superman a bitch. She's drunk and
shit,
she picks up her dog. It's like I'm just sitting there like, and you're gonna throw this like credit to Gary of Nerdrotic. Check out his channel; does a great job. And I mean, he even said maybe they should like hold off on Supergirl for another year and like because even he looks at this and he's going, yeah, this might torpedo WBD or the
yeah.
DCU before it gets in crawling state.
But they're not going to change it. You want to know why? Because this characterization of Supergirl, drunken bitchy frat girl, she's not for comic book fans. She's done this way so they can create a gay icon because they're going to try to capture the old school they try to capture the old school gay male who loves iconic female characters. They're gonna try to Madonna her. That's why she walked in and be like, "What's up, bitches? Where's my dog?" They're gonna Kardashian her in the hopes of appealing to some gay dudes.
Even I'm worried for Jason Momoa. It's like, oh god, yeah, because when I thought, okay, he's this Lobo, it's like, okay, he had great. He made Aquaman.
Dude,
If Gal Gadot was the all star of a Justice League with Wonder Woman, Jason Momoa deserves credit for making Aquaman cool and a badass. Now I'm worried that he has gonna get an ass woman from Supergirl who's like 5'2". He's one of the few Hollywood people that looks like just a guy could kick anybody's ass, and you're like, oh god, DCU, you're gonna do this. You will. I'm gonna get pissed. Kevin, you might talk me off the ledge because I might just go to James Gunn and go bleep yourself. I'll be in that drunk rant. It's like you should go back to the pedophilia parties. You.
well, yeah, exactly. But bro, that's where we get. Why do you think they're having such a hard time cracking this Batman Brave and the Bold script? Because to me, like this is easy. I wrote this movie four different times on Marv's show. A Batman. This is what people want from Batman, right? People want Robin. So fine, give him his freaking son. But the easiest way to do this is all right, because we're only 3 years into Superman, right? So I always say you've got a little flexibility with Batman because Batman operated in secret for a lot of years, and it wasn't until superheroes came around where the public knew that he existed, right? So you could have a Batman. You could open up Batman with Dick Grayson already being Nightwing. I'm already being Nightwing, but still be I'd keep him really young. I'd keep him no more than 20, 21 tops. So he's like a year or two into being Nightwing. They are estranged. Um, you could have Jason Todd should already be dead. Jason Todd should already be dead, and Batman is not in a good place. This Tim Drake kid, decides that he just like in the comics realizes that Batman is off and that Batman exists better with a Robin, and he realizes that Dick Grayson was in fact Robin. So he goes to track down Nightwing and convinces him to come back to Gotham. On the other side of the story, Talia al Ghul shows up, and it's like, hey, you no, actually I would flip it. I would have the Batman have the issue with Ra's al Ghul, he's going back and forth, and then halfway through the problem with Ra's, he finds out he's got a kid. And when they come back home, Tim brings Tim gets Dick to come back to the manor. Bruce comes back to the manor with Damian, and now you've got all the main Bat family together, and then you just end the
Yeah,
movie
but
with.
Kevin, I hate to break the news to you. You're not getting that. You know why?
I know you're not gonna. You know what we're gonna get? We're gonna get a Batman who's going to be an incompetent father, and a Damian who's gonna be a spoiled brat. And chances are it's gonna be Batgirl in the movie, and she's gonna be the smartest, bestest ever, and she's gonna fix the relationship with the power of her being a woman.
Well, not even that. You know who's directing it? That's right, folks. You thought The Flash was bad. Well, James Gunn thought it was a great movie. So Andy Muschietti, he is the director of Batman: The Brave and the Bold. That's right.
I
Oh,
don't think it's
I,
gonna happen personally.
I am sitting there.
I, I don't think Andy Muschietti is gonna be the director of this movie by the time it
Yes,
happens.
he is announced as the director of this movie.
No, I'm saying he's not going to be the one who directs this movie though. I think that they gave him Batman as an apology for The Flash because they knew that movie was a stinker. I think he got what he could have gotten out of it, Ezra Miller, but they knew that movie wasn't going to do well anyway because Ezra Miller should have been recast. No one was going to go see this movie, so it didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was the cinematic version, the DC Comics version of The Passion. No one was going to go see this movie. So I think that they gave it to Muschietti as a soft apology, and then they realized that he probably doesn't have the chops for Batman, so now they're killing time because they haven't even developed the script yet. How many years has it been since they announced him as a director? I think they're killing time so that all of a sudden he gets busy and he has to leave to fulfill other obligations.
You
But that's
say
that's my theory.
yeah, that's your theory, but I'm looking right now. This goes to our the next topic here. Like right now, Supergirl director Craig Gillespie. You know who he is? Fright Night, I, Tanya, and Cruella. And if you're not happy about that, well, don't worry about it. James Gunn doesn't give a rat's ass.
Yep.
Um, Clayface. You're getting James Watkins, the man behind Eden Lake, Speak No Evil, The Woman in Black. Well, all right. And you look here, and I was thinking about this. You could right now, if you looked at all the top action horror directors, DC could go through this year and they would have like a smorgasbord who they could elect. I'm looking right here.
Yep.
Chad Skaleski, you got Justin Lin, you've got David Leitch, Christopher McQuarrie, Gareth Evans, Edgar Wright, George Miller, Michael Bay, Guy Ritchie, Antoine Fuqua. Nobody seems to want to touch DC. Is that, and I wonder how much of that is by design. Like they're looking, like directors now looking to go fuck, screw comic book movies.
I,
We do our
I, I
own
think
thing. We get Pete. We get studio executives who are going to want this and this. F it. I'll do my own thing. I can be original. I don't have to worry about people going, but we want Batman to be like this. And if not, we'll start being you. We'll replace you like we did with Zack Snyder.
yep, yep. Listen, at the end, I know I laugh. I'm like, people have vilified this dude, but I'm sorry, Zach. I'm happy to see that Watchmen is finally getting its due a little bit. It took people a long time to turn around and really understand that movie is a triumph. But it's just unfortunately it was never. Watchmen was in a position where it could have never been financially viable. It would have had to have made $2 billion because of all the rights issues with the WB and Fox, with the way they broke it down. But Zack Snyder catches a lot of shit um, because the studio, frankly, Christopher Nolan had a very specific vision. They wanted Zach to execute it, and David Goyer was told to write two movies that delivered on that vision. The The only thing I would say about Zach is Zach does need someone over him to go, listen, bro, you don't have 6.5 hours to tell this fucking story. So figure out how to get it told in two. Honestly, I'm tired of the 2.5 hour comic movie myself. I'm like, can we get back to a 2 hour movie? I want to get in and out. These movies are taken. They they don't take they take the stakes. They don't take the character serious enough, and they take the stakes entirely too serious. So I'm like, can we tone it down a little bit and put a little more emphasis on this shit being fun? Like, listen, I'll give those Mission Impossible movies this, or actually, no, better yet, no, I will give the Fast and the Furious movies this. They understand what they are. They understand what they are, and they embrace it, and they just tell you a weird fucking story, and they get in and they get out. Sure, have the last batch kind of going off the rails because Vin Diesel wants to now make movies in the genres that he wants to make them in. Cool. But at least they take the time to explain to you how Ludacris and Tyrese didn't die in space. That's all you need to do for comic book movies. A little bit of super science, keep it moving, keep it fun. Stop making the movies bigger and bolder. Excuse me. The secret for these comic book movies is to now get smaller and focus on the story. No more beams in the sky. I think a brilliant thing for a Batman would be to adapt the original Venom story. It was short and to the point. The story is Batman's out here running himself ragged, mostly because he's trying not to address the fact that Jason Todd was dead. He tries to rescue a little girl. He can't. She drowns. He blames himself for it. He comes across this doctor who offers him a drug. He takes the drug. He has great strength and all this other crap, but he realizes that he's cheating, but he's addicted to the drug. Alfred helps him have to kick it. Alfred and Gordon get kidnapped. Batman has to pull his shit together. He drops in on a bunch of gorillas, like armed gorillas, not gorillas. He kicks the shit out of everybody, rescues his friends, and destroys the drugs. And did it in a way that you can set up for Bane a year later. Just give me a very simple but intense Batman story that has a lot of action. The warehouse scene of Batman and Superman is the greatest fight scene in comic book movie history. Straight up, no one has produced a fight that is better than that Batman warehouse scene. And we've had almost 8 years to figure it out. No one's come remotely close to touching this. I was like, give me people who know how to choreograph fights. No more over the top dumb explosions. A smaller, intimate stories. Stop spending $300,000 on gobbledygook on a dog that no one pets in the movie because he's a CG abomination.
Aquaman
Aquaman.
cost 260, $200 million. Made
Mhm.
1.152 billion. This is directed by James Wan.
Mhm.
I keep wondering if I was somebody an investor at DC, why didn't you if you didn't like Zack Snyder, why didn't you go with James Wan then, who he solved the riddle that was Aquaman. I mean, nobody could figure out Aquaman for decades, years. I
Mhm.
mean, nobody wanted to touch that because he was
Well,
so.
right. It was such a running joke that it became the main subplot of Entourage, right? Like the character was a terrible, a derided character since the onset of the 70s. And listen, part of it was through Snyder's brilliant casting, right? Like we got to use Aquaman. So what do we do with him? You take the character in a radically different direction. So you use some waterfaring people by going Polynesian, and you make him a badass dude, bro, and it made the character way more compelling. And then you just stuck to the guts of what the character was without overthinking it, right? Yes, yes. Did I lose you, Chris?
No, I'm still here. Yeah, I mean, because I was thinking about that. James Gunn,
Oh,
you knew had problems after Suicide Squad. I kept wondering, you had options if you're DC. You could have, instead, if you wanted to stick within the family a bit, you could have gone with James Lynn. You could have, if you really needed to, you could have gone to Michael Bay or Guy Ritchie, who understand, be the common man. I mean, if you were that desperate, God
Hmm.
damn it, throw a bunch of money at Christopher Nolan, just apologize. Go, hey, Chris, we screwed up. If you want David Zaslav to get on one knee, he'll kiss the ring. He'll even, bow, and he'll say, hey, just come back. Please come back. We'll give you full power. Like, I'm just looking at all these people, and they went with a guy who you knew was like kind of weird. Wasn't made for this. And even said, I don't understand how to. He turned down Superman. James Gunn turned down Superman the first time. This should have been like a warning.
Yep. Well, I hate the Suicide Squad. I hate that movie. I know people want to pretend it's good because of King Shark and the dumb fucking weasel. I hate that movie. Hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. It is the only DC movie that came out from that era that I actually hate. I enjoyed Birds of Prey. I don't think it's a good movie. I just thought it was, for what it was, bunch of, bestest girl ever shit. But I enjoyed it. The action was kind of fun, and what's her name, Mary Elizabeth, whatever her, the one who played Huntress. By the time you got to the end of the movie, I was like, yeah, all right, I could see it. She's Helena Bartonelli. The even Smollett as Black Canary. I'm like, yeah, whatever, fine. She wasn't a bad Dinah. Other than we decided that we were going to race swap it, but fuck it, whatever. I'm willing to roll with it. I'm willing to roll with it. You at least got the essence of the character right. I don't understand the singer thing, the why she wasn't already just a vigilante, but whatever. That's what happens when you give the Warner Brothers loves to give their directors the wrong kind of control. Like, oh, well, I think this is stupid, so I'm going to change this aspect of the character. Instead of saying, no, you have to stay true to the character. The, but I say the Birds Prey is a way better movie than the Suicide Squad. James Gunn takes a look at basic concepts, and I think Marvel James Gunn treats these properties like someone who has never someone grabbed an issue of the book that they've never read before, and they jumped into the middle of the story, and they decided they know everything that there is to know because they read one issue out of a 5-issue arc. And like, I'm like, 'cause I was like, the point of the Suicide Squad is that they don't die. They're supposed to die, or if they die, it's not that big of a deal because we didn't send superheroes. So they survive. They survive the unsurvivable. The so it's like that is the point of the team. You won it and you killed almost every single fucking character. Why? Because you thought it would have been a funny sight gag? Okay, great. And what did it get you? The worst performing DC movie. Like, I know we want to excoriate Black Adam and talk about how it was a miserable failure, but Black Adam still made more than the Suicide Squad.
Kevin,
And
you insult James Gunn. James Gunn is the king now. DC can't he craps gold. That's what I've been told by all the Superman fanatics. James Gunn is James Gunn genius.
I don't get it, man. I just don't get again. Listen, and that's not to say that James Gunn has not delivered some spectacular movies. He has. He has. James Gunn has a very particular aesthetic. He has a very particular mindset. But when it comes to certain things, he can't get out of his way. James Gunn does not write dialogue. He writes speeches. James Gunn wears his emotions on the sleeve of whatever he writes. But what James Gunn also doesn't know how he wants to wrap up the story, he makes it very short attention span. He's the and then kid. And then there was a giant starfish. And then the starfish pulled the guy with psychic powers apart and made him blow up because starfish also has psychic powers. And then, the albino girl, well, she threw dynamite at him, but what she didn't know was that the dynamite also had dynamite in it, and the two assassins were going to shoot it at the same time. Like, so like I'm almost curious I want to see this movie because I need to understand why the reviews are so wildly all over the place and why some folks who I thought should have crapped all over it um didn't, and why some folks who I thought were going to love it crapped all over it. Some of it is I have noticed that I think that I've noticed that some folks who are writers um seem to be either nonplussed or detest the movie. And some folks who just kind of like enjoy content are kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm with it. Like, so I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. But I don't think I think the numbers don't lie here. This movie did not draw well internationally. And I think it got all the major markets right away. So you're not going to get anything else out of it. I think for whatever reason, that awful Jurassic Park movie is going to keep making money overseas. They seem to want their dinosaurs.
Well, because it's
I
also non-political. There's politics. It's not woke, but there's politics to Superman. There's an agenda in Superman. Jurassic Park is what it is. It's basically dinosaurs rampaging, killing people. People love that. It's simple. I don't need to think. I just want stupid action. As the beautiful Miranda T.S. once told me, it's a bubblegum popcorn movie. You sit there, you eat it. You're not thinking. It's just entertainment and it's big budget stuff, which that leads us to our last topic. This thing's
so
this
I,
thing coming out,
oh,
and I
oh,
can
oh,
tell you, Kevin.
'cause I'm gonna die because I want you to understand something. Superman and the Fantastic Four are my top two favorite comics. So I want you to understand how much pain I'm in right now. But I
Oh,
was
Kevin,
saying,
I am
it's
surprised you
funny.
have not tried to assault Pedro Pascal or James Gunn. If somebody looks like Kevin does, I'm his alibi. He was here in Massachusetts all the whole time. It was not him driving, the white Bronco trying to run them over. I swear, Kevin Apollo was with me the entire time.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in the mountains of North Carolina talking to Chris over the internet. I'm nowhere near James Gunn or whatever poor sap made this movie. And dude, I'll be straight up. The second what's his name, John Watts walked away from this movie kicking and screaming, I knew we were in fucking trouble. I knew we were in trouble because John Watts understood what worked about Spider-Man. John Watts understood what worked about the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four is not necessarily a superhero group. It is a group. It is a family adventure series. So like they solve problems, and they are all on equal footing. And Sue is the mom of the group. Not like let's break this down, right. We have, and listen, no homo, right? Like Chris Evans, Johnny Storm is supposed to be a hot young man. The powers match their personalities, right? Like so Johnny is good looking. He's hot tempered. He's impulsive. He's a daredevil. He got fire powers. Ben Grimm, he's got a heart of gold, but he's got a tough exterior. He's got a tough exterior, almost rock-like. So you can't get to that heart very easily because he's got a personality of stone. Um, Reed takes on too much and is pulled in multiple directions, and his brain is so big that he can't focus. He's got stretchy powers. Sue feels like she's invisible and unseen by Reed and doesn't is unsure of her place in the family dynamic. She turns invisible. Not Sue is the bestest ever fucking girl boss that there's. And listen, dude, I don't the retro 60s aesthetic should have been something that should have been super cool. Should have been something that was used for Superman a little bit because Metropolis, I think the one thing that the Batman got right was that it made Metropolis a character. I'm not sorry, made Gotham a character. Metropolis should have been a character. There should have been there should have been a section of Metropolis where you got the world of tomorrow part, where it was all sciency, because he's been around for 3 years, and weird shit happens in Metropolis all the time, like kaiju showing up. Then you should have had your business section, and then you should have had Suicide Slums. The Fantastic Four, dude, again, second John Watts walked away. I have a feeling that what we were gonna get, it would have been a juxtaposition of like how the Fantastic Four were used to introduce Spider-Man. I guarantee Spider-Man would have been used to introduce the Fantastic Four. The dude, this is a super simple story to tell, right? Like, well, that's why I'm like, why was there a 5 year jump for the blip in Endgame, other than it was a story gimmick? Because the 5 year blip should have been used to introduce the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. They went out of their way to say that mutants existed, right? Scarlet Witch and Pietro were miracles. So that was their way of saying they're mutants without saying mutants because they didn't have the rights to the mutants yet. So we know mutants exist. Um, in Endgame, they go out of their way to say there was a dose of radiation that got released into space from Earth when the gauntlet went off. The radiation should have triggered the latent X gene that only a few people would have had at that point. You know, like Xavier, Magneto, and some of the really old mutants. And the Fantastic Four should have been in fucking space during the events of Infinity War and gotten exposed to the cosmic radiation and been heroing during the 5 years. And you could have said they were in the negative zone during the during the fight with Thanos. Instead, because we have to make everything universal. First of all, the multiverse saga isn't working for Marvel because Marvel is not a multiverse company. DC is the multiverse company, and it's only by a matter of happenstance because as we left the golden era and World War II was over and Alan Scott and Jay Garrick's characters weren't selling anymore. They had to update the concepts, and we got Hal Jordan and Barry Allen. But because readers are loyal to the books that they want, people wanted to see Jay Garrick come back. So we got the Flash of Two Worlds and then we got our first touch in a multiverse story. So it's like DC has always been a multiverse company. It's ingrained in their DNA. They bought another company. They worked the characters in. They're like Watchmen was supposed to be them getting rid of essentially them getting rid of the Captain Marvel universe. And someone at the last second was like, "No, we want to use these characters." And Alan Moore had to change the story up. The and we got what we got. Marvel has always ever been a we're the more grounded fantastical story. So like it's like so like we're the company that if superheroes were real, you'd be watching their fight on the 5 o'clock news, not this fucking lame shit that they tried to do with Kang. And so they're trying to tell Kang was awful anyway. So now what? I've got a Human Torch who looks like he's at Down syndrome. I've got a Thing who, and then they forgot Ben Grimm was a good-looking football player, army vet. Reed, that's the other thing to forget too. All the Marvel heroes were soldiers at some point. They're soldiers or they're spies. That's why their mentality. That Spider-Man is the only one he's just a kid, right? So Reed served. Reed was in a special unit. Ben Grimm was there to protect them, their childhood friends, right? So then what a perfect time for Marvel to turn around and go, hey, John Cena or The Rock, we want you to play Ben Grimm the Thing. Sure, we're going to CG over you, but we need a big, tough action hero type actor to play this role um, and be the voice of this character. Instead, we went with another fucking pussy. And fine, we kind of did his voiceover a little bit, but I'm like, dude, Michael Chiklis sent the standard. They're like, who knew the commish was gonna turn into the dude from the was gonna turn into the dude from the Shield, but was also gonna deliver a super badass rendition of the Thing. Pedro Pascal, let's be honest, Pedro Pascal is only in this movie because they could not find an actor who was willing to degrade himself and make himself Kirby's bitch to make himself the invisible one's bitch. Because I'm sure the rumors are true about this. They wanted a black and we know because Kang was black, you had to make a choice. Either Reed was going to be black or Doctor Doom was going to be black. They wanted a black dude to be Reed, and they couldn't find a guy who was willing enough to simp himself out to make him Sue's bitch. Then when you couldn't get a black kid, then they tweaked it again, and they just couldn't find a man who was willing to. So when you can't find a man, when you can't find a man who's willing to shame himself and make himself a cuckold to a female actress, you call sissy boy Pedro Pascal, and now we're stuck with Pedro Pascal being another project. The and here we are. The only good casting is Kirby, and I she's phenomenal in she was phenomenal in The Crown. I thought she was a lot of fun in the Mission Impossible movies. I can't think of what else she's done at
She
the
was
top of my
great in
head.
Hobbs and Shaw. I mean, look, I
Oh
do
yeah, she's
like her,
great in
but
Hobbs and
you
Shaw, so but like no like at this point no one's interested in seeing girl bosses. Look at poor the ballerina, right? That was the John Wick thing.
yeah, I mean, it did not do well, and yet people because people were, oh crap, another girl boss, and yet
Yep.
unfortunately that wasn't, Ballerina was not a girl boss movie. It was a revenge story, but she needed help from John Wick, and yeah, and as I said, you feel for Ana de Armas because she trained her ass off, got phenomenal, action shape as I call it, not good shape, action shape, and yet that movie
Yeah.
didn't do well because people just said, "Oh, it's girl boss." No, 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 pass. I gotta wash my hair. I'll do my taxes. I'll do anything but just this. And then you read Fantastic Four, and this is a quote from Vanessa Kirby. Once again, I like, but she said she was obsessed with comics run where Sue takes on the negative persona Malice, and she included elements of that version in her portrayal so Sue would not be, quote, the stereotype of a goody sweet mother. You worry this movie's gonna be, if you thought Superman was gonna be woke, no, this movie's gonna be woke as hell. And you look and you go, could 2027 be the year that Marvel and DCU are just dead because people are going, we can't take this anymore? No mas, we were tapping out. We'll say anything else but superheroes because Feige and Gunn are doing their damnedest to sort of ruin all of it for all of us.
Mhm. And listen, at least I'll give Gunn an excuse. Gunn can't get out of his own way. Kevin Feige is a fraud. He's an ideologue. He's a feminist cuckold, balding douche with a stupid fucking baseball hat on. He is not. He grifted off of his relationship with Jeff Johns and Richard Donner. He watched Avi Rad do all the work. He watched Favreau and Whedon and the Russos do all the fucking work, and he slid in. He slid in the fourth inning and somehow tricked everybody into giving him all the credit, right? Because Kevin Feige's first movie was what? He was responsible for making sure the Hawkeye made it into the end of Thor. That was Kevin Feige's big contribution to phase one. And what happened? Phase two was a little weird, right? Like the Thor movie wasn't really quite that great. Iron Man 2 was just a setup for what was to come, to the point that it made John Favreau quit for a little bit. The what else was in fucking Phase 2? That like it's nothing really hit the and we were just kind of bullshitting until the Avengers movie came out. The so it's like, give me a fucking break. What's crazy about this movie is we already suffered through the failure of whatever phase four was supposed to be, right? Like everybody made it really clear. We don't want the woke shit. We don't want the girl boss shit. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the Morn porn movie that had Shuri fighting a fat Namor. No one liked it. You bold everybody to see because you want to hold Chadwick Boseman's death over everybody. The fine Aquafina was fine in Chong Chi, but no one was really happy that the sister took over the Ten Rings at the end, which we haven't done anything with, right? Like people were just super duper fucking fatigued with the girl boss nonsense. People were super fatigued with the woke nonsense. If you were paying attention to what was happening culturally, while we had the zombie in office, people were out and out revolting against woke. So Kevin Feige turns around, triples down, and kills us with a shitty woke movie. I cannot tell you how forward I'm looking to watching this movie fail. I'm so excited to watch this movie be a fucking dud and have Marvel try to explain that they've put all their hopes and prayers on the shoulders of Pedro Pascal because he's going to be the star of Doomsday. Good luck, right? Because we haven't cast Chris Pratt yet, right? I don't think they're putting Tom Holland in it. So we haven't cast Chris Pratt, so there's no Star Lord. There's no Chris Evans, so I'm sure they're trying to save it for the end, but there's no Chris Evans. So you don't have anybody in this movie right now who has. Yeah, right. There's no Ryan Reynolds. Right? Did they say Hugh Jackman's in it?
We haven't heard yet. I mean, right now they've announced like the biggest name right now, I guess, is Jeremy Renner because they're saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, Hawkeye is going to die," and I think Jeremy Renner's like, I'm done with this thing. I
Yeah,
don't want to go
well,
back to Mayor Kingston and the
and
Manly
you're gonna kill
shows,
Hawkeye,
not
right?
this crap.
Yeah. So kill fucking Hawkeye and watch everybody be like, okay, I'm done with it, right? Because the one guy they should have given the money to, and I think we talked about this before, how fucking retarded is it that Jeremy Renner gets into a horrific accident, survives, right? Survives. The entire country decides that, hey, this is our guy. We like this dude. Um, and instead of doing Hawkeye season two, they decide they want to give him half the money, but they want to pump money into fucking Agatha, Agatha and every other piece of shit Marvel. Instead of
And
giving the
Echo,
guy
yes, and
and
Ironheart. Don't forget
Echo,
Ironheart, Kevin, your favorite
yeah,
movie.
Echo and Ironheart, like you're like fine, like Hawkeye wasn't great, but he had great chemistry with Haley Steinfeld, who's now a grown ass woman. So you wasted the opportunity there. People wanted to see them together again. People wanted to see Hawkeye with his family, and get more right because we wanted to see Hawkeye with his. We want to see Agent 13, and possibly see if she gets to become Mockingbird. Like people just wanted more of that, and you didn't give it to them because you want to do more girl boss shit. So the one lone available Avenger left, you didn't want to invest in him, because you're a fucking asshole. The the but you want to do this shit. No one is going to see this movie. And it's annoying to me because it's like, well, yeah, fine, Herbie the Robot's in there, cool. The fan-
You get the Mole King in there. Mole King's kind of cool. Yes, you have female
yeah,
Silver Surfer.
and I'm sorry, like, oh yeah, we got the Silver Surfette, and I think I said like this movie's so easy to do. All you have to do is FF number one. How do you introduce the Fantastic Four to the regular Marvel universe? Well, there are no Avengers. All of a sudden, the Molinoids show up, and the Fantastic Four have to fight the Molinoids, and you introduce them to the world. We've had the secret team. They're exposed to cosmic radiation, and they've been training and studying the effects of blah 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 blah. And now you're just off to the races, dude. I was like, why did Endgame end with Samuel L. Jackson on a plane talking to someone, saying, "Hey, we need there's an Eastern European country that's making a lot of noise. We need to start paying attention to it. They're collecting dangerous artifacts. Hey, boss, where are you going? I have to make a stop in Westchester and talk to a geneticist about the miracles." Now you got your Fantastic Four X-Men introduction out of the way. And all you gotta do is not tell a dumb fucking story. Instead, we've overcomplicated it. We've missed the point of the Fantastic Four. Their costumes are shit too. Look at how dumb these fucking costumes are. Look at how dumb these fucking costumes are. Do you know how many cool Fantastic Four costumes there are right now? Like even if you just go back to the Carlos Pachinko '90s ones, where the white bleeds into the floor, into the number four because they wanted to change it up from the old look, or you can go back to the John Byrne era, the white the blue and white one, or start with the Lee Kirby ones with the navy blue with the light blue, but or the modern ones that they had John Krasinski in the slash. Why wasn't this just John Krasinski and Emily Blunt? Kevin Feige tried for years to get Emily Blunt into the MCU. And the first time she's actually available, he doesn't do it. Like, fuck this dude. This guy, this fucking incompetent grifter fuck. Dumb four-headed idiot.
Well, we're gonna end with that because there's no way I can top that with Kevin. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to thank for our superhero rants, raves, and we'll probably be doing this again after this movie drops, so Kevin can go more off of this. I give you it's Kevin Apollo. So Kevin, before we let you go, once again, where can fans check you out at? Where is the X, the YouTube channel, the Facebook, Instagram, and tell us about this weekend's wrestling matches, which you promoted. You were very happy about North Carolina. I guess it was a big success. Tell us where we can check more of that out at.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be putting more of the clips of the show up. I tried to go live on X, and for some reason there was music playing in the background. So I had to kill the feed because it was just weird. But it was the first time I tried it. But I'll figure it out eventually. I'll do more of that. I'll share more of that. But yeah, the ACW show went great. The gallery at Crystal One folks over in Middletown. Middletown, New York is an old school ECW town. We're right around the corner from the fairgrounds. But they're fantastic mall partners. They're my favorite ones to work with. The Middletown crowd is always great. They're very gracious. Listen, it was hot. It was hot. So there was no reason to be indoors. This Saturday, but people showed up and they stayed from beginning to end, and they were as loud could be, and I can't really ask for anything more than that. I do these shows so that the wrestlers um have cool moments in their career where they can look back and say, hey, this was my body of work. And it's nice when people show up and make those moments cool for them. But ACW underscore Coliseum, spell it the Roman Coliseum. That is my ACW, not that awesome championship wrestling grifter bullshit that showed up after I established the ACW name and stole my shit. Fuck those guys. Hale's a good guy, and I guess he found the appropriate money mark, but fuck him. You knew there was an ACW, and you keep grifting off of my shit. So that's why we're gonna go through a little bit of a brand redo so they can stop catching my goodwill. The but yeah, ACW underscore on Twitter or Twitter X and Instagram. The house underscore Apollo on Instagram now. To so that it matches up with my coming YouTube channel, the House of Apollo. But other than that, until that launches, I think probably sometime in late August. But coming up, I think July 25th, I'm gonna have a show with Lauren Connor on the WDW Pro channel, Lauren and Apollo versus the World, where we're gonna do some cool nerd stuff. We're gonna dive into some, I think we're gonna start with some Star Wars lore, but we're gonna do lots of different things, and we want the crowd to interact with us. We want us to ask some questions. Throw it out there, man. It's a show for the people, by the people. So feel free to give us some questions, give us some topics to tackle. Throw us your takes. We'll talk about them. We'll explore them. We may look at a movie and go, how do we make this movie better? Or we're gonna do something that I want to do on my YouTube channel, where we recast hit movies or classic movies. And the rule is you have to use actors who were around during that time. So it can't be like we're going to make the Sting, but we're going to put Brad Pitt in it, or like Lethal Weapon. You got to take a look at Lethal Weapon and go, all right, who were stars that were big enough that this would have made sense? Who would you have used? Who would you have swapped out Mel Gibson with? How would it have worked? Why would it have worked? Like cool stuff like that, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun. So I hope everybody tunes into WWE Pro on I think we're in the evening, so 11 p.m. July 25th, and I think we're gonna do Tuesdays and Fridays. After that, House of Apollo coming soon, and I'm here whenever you need me, brother. Oh, and I can't forget Tuesday nights Toonie Town Wrestling, and on Wednesday nights Toonie Talk TV, where we talk about entertainment and stuff like that. So I'm floating around. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter, which I think it's still Wardog Apollo. Throw some ideas, man. I'm open to it. I love talking to people. Me, I'm always up for a good conversation. Anybody pops up in my DMs, I'll answer you. So just don't be a soy boy and not easily offended, and we can have a good time.
Kevin Apollo, ladies and gentlemen, once again, always on a pleasure. Have you on the show. We come back, a lot more going on here. Only on it's Last Call. Last Call of the Alcohol, only on the Last Call YouTube Rumble channel.